August 2019, the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, URCA, will celebrate its first significant milestone. If you've heard the name but don't quite know what they do, URCA is an independent regulatory body with responsibilities for two critical sectors of the Bahamian economy: the electronic communications sector and the electricity sector. The electronic communications sector includes fixed and mobile telephone services, spectrum and numbering, broadcasting including pay television and internet services. In the electricity sector, URCA regulates all entities who generate, transmit, distribute, or supply electricity to, from, or within the Bahamas. URCA's responsibilities are guided by government policies for each sector. The policies are the Electronic Communications Sector Policy and the National Energy Policy.
As URCA celebrates 10 years of independent utility regulation in the Bahamas, 2018 will be remembered as one of our most notable years in the organization's history. During 2018, URCA made new strides towards effective regulation of the electronic communications sector, completing its oversight of Alive's entry into the market and rollout of services, preparing technical standards for our country's radio stations, and establishing its position on the critical area of net neutrality and regulation of over-the-top services. Our electricity sector regulation continued to grow through the licensing of public electricity suppliers, consultation on BPL's Consumer Protection Plan, and implementation of the Small-Scale Renewable Generation Program. Internationally, URCA's team, supported by several government agencies, worked hard to secure the Bahamas' election as a member of the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU's, Governing Council. The Bahamas' election by more than 160 member states is not only a first for the Bahamas, it is also the first representation by a member of the English-speaking Caribbean in over a decade. The election took place at the ITU's Plenipotentiary Conference in 2018 in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. URCA also led in the election of the Bahamas as a member of the Executive Committee of the Inter-American Telecommunications Commission, CITEL. CITEL is the organization of American states body responsible for information and communication technology matters. URCA represents the Bahamas at both bodies on behalf of the government.
The introduction of competition within the cellular market in the Bahamas was a key objective of URCA. Following the launch of competitive services in 2016, URCA was responsible for ensuring that services by both cellular mobile providers were available across the length and breadth of the Bahamas as mandated. This work was completed in 2018, and competition in the cellular market has already brought about an improvement in overall customer experience. Information communication technologies, ICTs, are permeating everyday tasks, shaping and coloring our activities. ICTs can improve the quality of life for all consumers. And at the core of ICTs in today's world is the Internet, a global interconnected network of computers that has the potential to one day connect everyone on the planet without borders or limitations. It is therefore critical for URCA to ensure that there is certainty and confidence that access of all service providers and operators is fair and seamless while delivering optimal benefits for all consumers. This is at the core of the global debate on net neutrality and over-the-top services, and the Bahamas is no exception. In 2018, URCA completed engagement with key stakeholders and published a position paper establishing a light-touch approach to its regulation of net neutrality issues and over-the-top services. URCA also established technical standards that broadcasters in New Providence must adhere to. The standards would significantly reduce and/or eliminate signal interference, which has historically challenged FM broadcasters. These FM broadcasting technical standards, completed in 2018, paved the way for an improved experience for broadcasters and listeners in the Bahamas. In 2018, URCA also completed a number of important regulatory interventions in the electricity sector. At the foundation of URCA's functions in any of the regulated sectors is the authorization of service providers to operate in a particular sector. The completion of licensing guidelines for the sector and the issuance of licenses for the public electricity suppliers in the Bahamas, as mandated by the Electricity Act, was a major milestone for URCA. The licensing guidelines outline the different categories of licenses available to operators in the sectors. On the 1st of May 2018, licenses were issued to Bahamas Power and Light and the Grand Bahama Power Company in accordance with the Electricity Act. The license brings them within URCA's regulatory remit and provides basic parameters for their operations as suppliers of electricity to the public in the Bahamas. A main feature of the Electricity Act is to protect consumers. To that end, all public electricity suppliers in the Bahamas are required to create and submit their consumer protection plan to URCA for approval. This plan sets out the supplier's commitment to its customers. During 2018, URCA completed its review of and consultation on BPL's Consumer Protection Plan and directed BPL to implement the plan. As we move into the next decade of independent utility regulation in the Bahamas, URCA is committed to leveraging the synergy of the regulated sectors to help the realization of a smart society. To achieve this vision, in 2019, URCA will start by looking at its own performance, even as we seek to improve lives through effective utilities regulation.
Our aim is to ensure that our work is having the desired impact on all stakeholders. Therefore, URCA is in the process of developing effective organizational performance indices, or OPIs, to measure our overall performance against the goals and objectives set out in URCA's strategic plan. We want to ensure that our projects and decisions are meeting the needs of all our stakeholders. They are consistent with our statutory duties, mission, and vision. We expect that implementation of our OPIs and use in our planning and assessment processes will help us to improve and strengthen URCA across all aspects of the organization, including our day-to-day operations and regulatory functions. Through publication and consultation of our OPIs, we will also enhance our accountability with all of our stakeholders.
One of the most exciting frontiers in the regulation of both the electronic communications sector and the electricity sector for URCA is our recognition of how the two regulated sectors can combine to create new technologies that impact our everyday life. URCA is bringing this into our daily operation.
We have launched an organization-wide green initiative aimed at reducing our impact on the environment. Following an energy audit of our office located on Frederick Street in Nassau, we have been intentional in our efforts to reduce consumption. We started with replacing all of our light fixtures with energy-efficient LED bulbs, and we are working to install other smart energy-efficient measures. We are also excited about our plans to incorporate solar generation into our operations with the installation of a solar canopy in our parking lot. The canopy will allow URCA to generate solar power that will be used to offset URCA's current energy consumption and power electric vehicle charging stations for our planned fleet of electric vehicles.
Another exciting area for URCA, which will bring great benefits to consumers, is the harmonization of our approach to consumer protection.
Consumers are one of our most critical stakeholders. URCA is mandated to have in place protection measures for those who use the services in all of the sectors that we regulate. We are reviewing the current regulations for the electronic communications sector and producing consumer protection regulations for consumers of electricity. Through these regulations, URCA will set standards to cover issues such as the wait time for installation of new services, the time for repair and restoration of service, compensation guidelines for damage to customers' equipment and appliances, and building concerns. The document will also address consumer obligations.
In 2019, URCA will also work on several projects in each of the regulated sectors. It's unquestionable that hurricanes present a real threat to the Bahamas. Before, during, and after the passage of such storms, the ability to communicate is of paramount importance. URCA is working with the relevant authorities, operators, and other interested groups to develop regulations which will ensure more resilient communication infrastructure to support disaster preparedness, management, and recovery. URCA continues to work with its broadcast industry partners to review and enhance its content regulation and expects to consult with the public on proposed revisions later in 2019. Particular areas of focus include complaints handling, broadcasting during election periods, and advertising of gambling activities. When someone makes a call from one network to another, a fee is paid per minute to the network receiving the call from the network making the call. This is called an interconnection termination charge. These charges are particularly important as they have a direct impact on rates paid by consumers. In 2019, URCA will review these rates to determine whether the rates are at the right level to stimulate fair market competition between the operators. Did you know that when you send an email to your next-door neighbor in the Bahamas, that email could go all the way around the world before your neighbor receives it? The routing of that email around the world costs money and can increase the cost of your service here in the Bahamas. The creation of an Internet Exchange Point, IXP, in the Bahamas through which local Internet service providers can exchange Internet traffic without using international routes is a key objective of URCA in 2019. The development of an IXP will also improve the quality of service by increasing speed and reliability of domestic communication and could serve to stimulate an increase in economic activity in the ICT sector. The projects proposed by URCA for 2019 in the electricity sector are designed to improve the country's electricity ecosystem in relation to the production and consumption of electricity. One of URCA's first interventions in the electricity sector was the introduction in 2017 of small-scale renewable generation, or SSRG, which facilitated opportunities for residential and small businesses to generate solar power for their own use and sell excess to the supplier. This year, URCA will ramp up its promotion of the SSRG program through a widespread public awareness and education campaign, with the objective of increasing participation. One of URCA's responsibilities is to ensure that the operations in regards to the national energy grid is done in the best interest of the public in the Bahamas and in line with best global practices for the industry. In 2019, URCA will create a set of rules and guidelines with which public electricity suppliers must comply when acquiring power generation resources, ensuring that these processes are fair, consistent, and in line with the aims of the Electricity Act and the national energy policies. A serious concern expressed by the general public over the years has been the impact of the monthly fuel charge on consumer bills. It is incumbent on URCA to seek to ensure that public electricity suppliers' fuel charge properly reflects the actual cost of fuel used by suppliers, and that the fuel is used in an efficient manner that does not unreasonably impact consumers. URCA will begin in 2019 to review BPL's fuel charges for 2018 and moving forward on an ongoing basis. Through its work, URCA will also seek to identify opportunities for BPL to optimize its acquisition and application of fuel and its recovery of its costs. URCA recognizes that the improvement in the production of electricity could be undermined if not partnered with the responsible use of electricity. To that end, in 2019, URCA has embarked on a program to promote energy efficiency and conservation. This will entail the encouragement of consumers to assess their use of energy, to see the value of adopting energy-saving behaviors, their conversion to energy-saving devices and appliances, and use of smart technology. These are just some of the exciting and important projects through which URCA works to improve lives through effective utility regulation.
URCA wants to hear from you as it works with service providers, consumers, and other stakeholders to improve the quality of service you receive from your telephone, internet, pay TV, and electricity providers, and also the quality of content broadcast by radio and television stations in the Bahamas. Consumer complaints is a very important component of URCA's job in improving quality of service. If you don't complain to us, we won't know about your issues. It's easy. You want to complain? First, gather all of the relevant information concerning your account and your issues. Secondly, file a complaint with your service provider. If If you need help, contact our help desk and we will help you file your complaint with the service provider. If you are not satisfied with the provider's response, file your complaint with URCA. We will investigate and respond with a solution. If you are not happy with URCA's response, you can appeal to the Utilities Appeal Tribunal.